Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last session of today's Ubuntu Online Summit. This one is going to be a Q&A specifically about the Convergence work that's going on, bringing the code bases for Ubuntu Phone, Ubuntu Tablet, and Ubuntu Desktop all together in a single code base that will work for all of those form factors. With me today, I've got some of the engineers and managers who are going to be responsible for that work, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves one at a time, starting with Kevin Gunn.
Hey there, my name is Kevin Gunn, and actually am managing two teams. I'm managing the Mir team and the Unity 8 team.
All right, next we've got Savik.
Hi, so this is Michał, Savik and IRC. I am actually managing the NG team under Kevin.
And then finally we have Will Cook.
Hello, I'm Will, and I manage the Ubuntu Desktop team.
All right, so the way this will work is we're in the hash Ubuntu-UOS-Convergence IRC channel on Freenode. That's where you will go to ask all of your questions. Start them with the word question in all capital letters so that they turn bright yellow for me and I don't miss them. We will answer them in the order they come in until we run out of questions or we run out of time, whichever comes first. All right, we have one question already. It is from our friend Daniel Holbach. He's asking, is something still missing to let us install clicks in a Unity 8 desktop session?
So take that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, this is so we've had trouble with basically, as far as I can understand, a miscompatibility between PackageKit 0.8 and 1.0, which has now been solved. And these days, yes, you should be able to install clicks on your desktop. The only requirement, though, is that those clicks do actually include binaries for the architecture that you run on. So if you're probably running AMD64 on your laptop, then the clicks that are uploaded to the store have to be multi-arch, which means that they have to actually include binaries for ARMHF for the phone and for AMD64 for your desktop, and then they should show up.
So that's actually Daniel's next question. Are we planning to use fat packages for most of the apps soon?
Well, it's probably another question to us. So this is something that is solved in a different way in snaps. So in the Snappy world, you will actually have a per architecture snap. This is basically because we know already that snap packages will be big because they have to bring all of their own dependencies. And so bringing them all for multiple architectures on top of that would be probably too difficult. So today, every app developer can do this for themselves. Just bring it in your click, upload it to the store. Make sure you say in your manifest that this is a multi-arch and which architectures are actually supported, and this will just work. And there goes my cat. You're muted, Mihak.
Sorry, one more from Daniel. Is the Xenial overlay safe for use in the Xenial desktop? I'm assuming he means the overlay PPA.
Yes, so the overlay PPA, which is for historical reasons called a stable phone overlay. Yes, this is totally safe. This is where we will be landing all the packages. Like most of our workloads today land at the same time for Vivid, so for the distribution that our phones are based on right now, and in parallel they land on Xenial. So there's basically nothing more that will land in the overlay than what lands for the phone.
All right, Ziga is asking, how do you see Snappy affecting convergence?
I don't think it affects convergence any different than it would affect, if we were doing phone in and of itself, just because today we work off of one code base that is truly transforming between form factors, it's kind of a no-hit. The fact that there's a long-term plan to move over to Snappy technologies is that's I guess an independent issue.
I think it's a bigger impact on developers than us, actually, right?
Right.
So I think that the fact is that our teams actually work closer to what Snappy built out from, right? So clicks are something and clicks on the phone, the whole update story of the phone is what Snappy came out of, and we are still in that world. So basically, Snappy for us is probably just a new way of packaging things.
2.0.
And
yeah.
Exactly, it's the second version. So this is maybe Will, you coming from like the traditional deb-based desktop, maybe you have some insight here that that we're not aware of.
No, I think you pretty much covered it. And going back to a question that Dale asked earlier, which was about when is Snappy Personal going to happen. So the concept behind Snappy Personal is it's like Ubuntu Core, but it's got some extra goodness in it that you would need for a desktop. So as a bad example, it might include like the GTK libraries and the Qt libraries and a few other bits and bobs that you would expect there to be on a desktop machine. So depending on what we do with that, and there is no plan to do much work on that at the moment. We still need to think about it. We still need to work out what it's going to do and how it's going to work. But once that work is done and we've made those decisions, then it should be very, very easy from our perspective to put a desktop together. It will just be a case of taking the Unity 8 block and the Mir block and plugging them together, and out pops a desktop. So I don't think it'll make much difference.
So currently Unity 8 works with click packages. It expects click packages and the places that click installs to. What work is going to be involved to get that to work on a Snappy and the hybrid Snappy and deb-based packages desktop in the future?
So apps packaged as snaps natively will actually come sooner to the Unity 8 desktop than they are going to come to the touch devices for a few reasons. Some of those are kernel versions. Others are what the touch stack currently is built upon. So there's relatively no good reason why what we call Snappy, the dimension on Classic, would not work on Unity 8 on the desktop. There's a bit of plumbing that we need to still make happen in between them, but think that this will happen the soonest. That apps that you can install as snaps that you can install on Unity 7 today will soon-ish work on the Unity 8 desktop. Moving the phone to Snappy is a little bit further away, just because of more important work still.
And that's what Savik was saying about the plumbing needed to be done on Unity 8 desktop to support that snap experience is mainly around interfaces. So if you've attended some of our other sessions yesterday on core interfaces, the technology is the same. Basically, we have a Unity 7 interface and an X11 interface today. We just need to add in interfaces specific for paths that those snaps are going to look for Unity 8 and Mir.
Okay, Daniel wants to know, do you know of people using the typical Unity 8 developer desktop already, for example, using it with the terminal and the web browser? And if so, what's the feedback you've been getting?
Well, quite a lot of the Unity 8 developers are using it every day in order to do their development. Well, they're not doing their development there necessarily, but they're playing with it all the time. I think from a development point of view, we're still kind of working out exactly how confinement is going to work, how you're going to be able to deal with a confined environment where you need to get down and dirty into the guts of the machine. So I personally don't know of anybody who's using it to do development inside there, but presumably you can fire up vim in a terminal and crank out some code. I don't know, Savik, are your guys doing much in there?
So obviously, we do most of our work actually on devices next to our laptops, right? Because we mostly develop for that's our main focus. Is devices that can be desktops, but are actually the form factor is a phone or a tablet. But this is getting closer and closer. Like Hangouts is a highlight of like few last weeks that your WebRTC improvements in the Ubuntu browser may mean that you are able today to use Hangouts, Talkie.io, or whatever other WebRTC based system that you want. On top of that, IRC clients, something that we use daily. We have extract GNOME on the M10 tablet, so you can use that. Really, this is just someone needs to pull the trigger on themselves and just switch to it. We haven't. There's just things that will not work great for you. There will be a few bits missing, but overall, it's getting ready for you.
Yeah, and I think just to add to what Savik's saying too is we actually want people to do that, right? We want to get a groundswell of people starting to do that, so it'll help us get focus on things that need to get fixed.
All right, so then on that topic, how would a typical Ubuntu desktop user running Xenial start using Unity 8 today?
Apt-get install Unity 8's desktop session near. I think is the package name.
Correct.
Do that, and then it will pop up in your greeter as an alternative session. Drop down the list, you'll see a number 8 there. Click on that, and you're into your Unity 8 session.
If you have free open source graphics drivers, right?
Indeed.
It won't work with the commercial graphics drivers yet.
So Daniel's next question is, do we have any updates on when we might get support from the proprietary driver developers like NVIDIA and AMD?
Yeah, so there is actually active work ongoing with our partners. And again, every time I do one of these public sessions, I'm always hesitant to talk about dates and that kind of thing because that is it is up to our partners to decide when they're ready to release. And they have their own roadmaps and that sort of thing. But they are being pushed, from the industry to have a model that fits basically Mir and Wayland, right? So that's really helped get them situated to where we can do some integration activity. And that's really all I can say is that work is happening.
All right. The next one is from Dale. He's asking, is Snappy personal image still viable? And I think maybe he means, is it going to be a standalone image, or is it going to be a combination of Snappy Ubuntu Core and additional snaps to provide that personal computing experience?
Yeah, it's going to build off of, so it'll be a superset of the Snap model that Ubuntu Core is using. Now there's some discussion amongst the team members about how exactly, do you just make a big fat OS snap that's different than the OS snap on Ubuntu Core, or do you break it out and have yet another snap, let's say like a shell snap or something? There's questions like that we have to answer, but it's going to follow architecturally the same model.
All right. Yeah, I think when we originally started using terms like Snappy Personal, we didn't have the OS as its own snap. We were like we are on the phone, where we've got a system image, and then we've got
was just a big image
on top of that.
Right.
All right. Ziga wants to know how we plan on supporting multiple monitors with different DPIs in a way that is transparent to end users.
So this is something I think this has been solved even by MT7. You can choose a different scale on different screens, and then if you have multiple screens that have different scales, then the app will have to be re-rendered per screen. So if you move an application between screens, it will have to be rendered at a different scale. On top of that, the compositor will apply tricks because some toolkits will support scaling to any random number, others will only support integers, and even other apps won't support any scaling at all. So this will ultimately, the compositor will do the rest of the work, right? So if the user says that they want their display at scale 2.3, whatever that means, if the app returns to us, okay, I can draw at 2.3, so here's me rendering at 2.3, then that's fine. If the app comes back and says I can only scale at 2.0, then the 0.3 on top of that, the compositor will just scale it, zoom in, so it still looks in place. And then on top, and ultimately when the app goes and it doesn't go, as in it has no answer. We will have to assume that it's rendering at scale 1 and just zoom in. So this will be toolkits moving in to support this. More and more toolkits today support this. Then this will be an ongoing effort, basically.
Okay, I'm glad we've got Stephen Webb on here for this next one. That's from Daniel. He's asking, how well do traditional X11 apps run on Unity 8? What is still missing for them?
The answer to that is, well, complicated. We're working at porting toolkits so that they run natively on Mir instead of X11, but it turns out there's a lot of stuff that's going to be missing because X itself has expanded so much over the decades. We have a subset of stuff that we know we've tested, and it works great using the Libertine container system on Unity 8. And some of the other stuff, it's got problems still. There's issues like multiple windows not displaying properly and that sort of thing, and we've got a plan to get this all fixed over the next couple of cycles. It's not there yet. We're looking at needing more work on window management, on scaling, on various keyboard and accessibility support. But fact is, you can actually get stuff up and running now. I have on the machine I'm talking to you on. I have a whole lot of games installed that run on X11, and they work with my touchscreen, and it just works. But there's things like, for example, if you try running the GIMP, you have to run it in single window mode and not in multi-window mode. And we've got stuff in the works. It's just not there yet. These things take time.
How about things like copy-paste? Does that work across between native Mir and Xmir apps?
That's another one of the things that is on our agenda to get done in the next cycle. A lot of these are not useful until that kind of thing is in there, but it's hard slogging, and we're making progress. Solitaire works great.
Well, that's the important one, right? 90% of everybody's time.
I mean, I would like to just highlight there, though. It's always an argument about getting a feature out that's useful, but maybe it doesn't have every single thing that a person would want, right? But it allows us, now that with the M10 out and having XApps on there, it does allow us to gain a certain level of confidence and pipe clean our own activity and get it to a point of stability so that we can now incrementally add these features and feel confident about it rather than just trying to do a big bang, here's every single feature in the world and have a mess on our hands.
There's also one more thing I wanted to add. One of the reasons for Mir was to go away from some paradigms, some old style paradigms in, for example, window management that we know now don't work well. And so this is why, I don't see ourselves basically, because this is something that we could in theory do, is pass X windows up through Xmir up to Unity 8 for window management. But this would actually require us to bring, again, those window management paradigms into Unity 8 that we've gone away from in the first place. So I see us rather implementing real support for work in the new approach that we've designed a few years ago by now in Mir, rather than just copying what X was doing and then just pushing them through. This is why Xmir is the interim solution, for which we probably will never have 100% feature parity with with X11, with X11 shells, with X11 environments. But our goal will actually be to bring all of those natively into the brave new world.
Absolutely.
Okay, so today, if I were to switch, log out and log back into a Unity 8 shell on my laptop, and I want to try running a traditional desktop app that I use, that's Python and GTK, what approach should I take to try and get that running under Unity 8?
I think today the best is through Libertine, right? So through Xmir. Libertine, if you don't know, but there's been sessions about it, but so just a brief outline, is technology that allows us to create a container with the minimal Ubuntu installation basically in it, and then you can apt-get install any application out there. And long term, not right now today, but we are working on integrating that into the rest of the Unity 8 desktop so that you would launch it in the same way that you launch any other apps, and that's, long term this will be as simple as we can make it, but it will be a X application running within its own window management inside Xmir, and that will be your whole window. So in case there are multiple windows displayed from that app, then things may get funky.
Okay, so if I already have it installed and I already have, my standard Ubuntu environment on my laptop, do I still need to put it under Libertine to get it to run under Unity 8, or can it run?
Yeah. So I think you're getting at a question which frequently comes up. So there is no X when you're running your Unity 8 desktop session, right? So if you just fire it up straight away, there's no X involved. It's all Mir. That's all you're seeing there.
Okay, so I still need to put that Libertine container to get a
so
Mir capable.
The reason for Libertine is actually the security part of this whole story. Under Unity 8 and Mir, we don't want any apps to run inside your home directory, inside your system, unconfined. And basically, like, having support for that on top of allowing you to actually have Libertine. Like, Libertine is actually a superset of what you can do with today's technologies, right? So we would rather focus on you getting it through there than like supporting it natively with, just install it on your main system and run from there. Just because you can do the same in a better way inside the container. Right? There's nothing you lose. With the exception of QML apps that you apt-get install, which there aren't many, and like most of them are actually available in clicks already, right? There's not that much that you can gain either.
Okay, so do we have documentation on how to set up this Libertine container, Stephen?
There is some documentation. It would be best if people who are good at writing documentation help us write some better documentation. But yes, there's some stuff on the wiki on how to set it up.
Okay. Moving on then, we've got Ziga, who's asking, do you track the performance of Mir and Unity 8 in an automatic manner during the development cycle?
So the answer is yes, and that's constantly growing, right? So you may be familiar, recently we had a pretty nasty regression happen with the spread on, I think it mainly exhibited itself on the E4, and drilled down, found out that was basically a GPU quirk, is what I would call it, right? So we were using the device in a way that was accepted by spec, but had a funky performance response. So as part of that, we fixed it, and then we added an automated test as part of our CI. And so we have automated tests as part of CI, and then those just keep getting added to every time we stumble across something like that.
So I often see in comments people speculating on performance of Unity 8 versus Unity 7. Do you have any metrics that shows both performance and like resource requirements and memory usage for a Unity 8 session compared to Unity 7?
We don't, and I mean it's a little apples and oranges, right? I mean, it's I'm not sure it's a completely fair comparison, and that doesn't only go for necessarily the toolkit part of it, but even how the our current system is more secure, right? So we've taken pains to have some intermediaries between certain activities. That doesn't, that's not an excuse for every single thing, and we are actively looking at some what we call key performance indicators, right? So the dash scrolling and swiping, and trying to dive down into what exactly are the bottlenecks there that we could improve on. So, but I think it's maybe a little unfair to try to compare when you've got a QML app versus a pure C app, for instance.
I think also we probably just need to choose a few scenarios, right, that you can compare, because what does it mean to compare performance of two shells that actually look differently by now, right? They are implemented differently because they are supposed to look differently, but things like probably we can go on and look at things. How do we render video, right? If you open a video player, how much does it take you to composite that, right? And things like that we can definitely add measurements for.
And that all said, when I run LibreOffice or the GIMP through Xmir, it seems to run just as fast as when I'm running it natively. I don't have numbers, but that's the way it feels. It doesn't feel slower.
All right. Sergio is asking, has anyone tested running the Snappy plumbing on an Ubuntu phone or tablet?
I don't think this is part of our effort right now, and we will need to get to that. Unless, Sergio, you can explain more on what do you mean by Snappy plumbing.
We'll see if he comes back with more details on that. In the meantime,
I can only guess he might mean like taking the Snappy experience that you can have on the classic Unity 7 today, and then just taking that over and putting it on the phone. And the answer is no, but it's something that I think we've got on our list of stuff to go tinker with and experiment with.
Okay, Almejo is asking, what do you think is the future of Steam in Ubuntu? Do you see a future for games as snaps, or see a big snap of Steam with the games inside it? And I'll also add on to that, will Steam games be running natively on Mir, or will they have to go through Xmir?
I think that you're more likely to see Steam as one big snap. This is our experience. We've actually got it up and running in a Libertine container, so they're running through Xmir, mostly because many games, and including the Steam client itself, just assume X and do all kinds of things they shouldn't be doing in proper environment. But because Steam actually installs most of the games inside itself as opposed to onto your system, it's almost acting like a snap now. So I would say it's more likely to be one big snap for all Steam.
Which is really Steam's, I think, ideal way of doing it. They want to be the one that delivers and manages all of the games in Steam. All right, the next one is from Chloe Wolfie Girl, and it's actually kind of two questions, so I'm going to break it up. The first one is, how long will it be until keyboard shortcuts work? And here I'm assuming she means in Unity 8. And when will we have the same kind of keyboard navigation that we have in Unity 7?
Like minus 2 months roughly, or more than that actually. So most of the keyboard shortcuts that you have on Unity 7, as in the shell ones, so Alt F4 to kill an app, super something. So all of the features that are there for Unity 8 should have corresponding keyboard shortcuts. On top of that, there's apps that need to implement their own handling of keyboard shortcuts. If there's a particular shortcut that you're missing for Unity 8 or apps, please file a bug, and we'll take care of it as soon as possible.
All right, the second part of her question, I'm not entirely sure what she means, but she says, when with X11 on the desktop, can we just apt-get and have the icons in the app scope? Or is there still a lot to go through before that works? I'm not sure if she means installing snaps on Unity 7 or installing deb apps in Unity 8. But I think for the case of Unity 8, you mentioned before that they would go through the Libertine container in order to get into like the app scope and be launchable in Unity 8, right?
Exactly. That's our goal, actually.
Yeah, we're never going to have debs installed and just run in Unity 8, as far as I know. That's a thing of the past.
Also, caveat: we actually do today. Even on the touch devices, there's a few leftovers that we were not able to package up or didn't have the time to package up as clicks, simply because of confinement reasons, etc. But that was always temporary. We want to have everything packaged up as clicks for the phone, simply because of delivery reasons. So we can, for example, issue a software update of just web browser if we find a security issue in there, for example, without having to deploy a whole system update. So all of those we want to package up as clicks or later as snaps, and then so right now we do pick up desktop files from apt-get installed applications, but this is something that we want to go move away from and go, as mentioned before, go through Libertine, because this is just a better way for us in the long term, and there's basically nothing that you lose or gain compared to apt-get installing natively.
All right. Daniel is asking, can we have a meta package which pulls in the Unity 8 desktop session, the click scope, and all the good stuff we expect to have in a full Unity 8 desktop?
Yeah, see, I think we have. I think that the Unity 8 desktop session mir package is supposed to have the click scope and the browser in it already. If that's not working, then that's a bug. Anything above and beyond that, then we can certainly think about, and we can put 1610. But for 1604, it should already be there, and if it's not, I think that's a bug.
I'm pretty sure it's all there. I don't recall installing the click scopes separately, and it was there last time I tried it.
Yeah, no, it is.
The browser was there for me too, but I have the browser installed as a deb package on Unity 7 also, so I'm not sure where that one was coming from.
We also plan to put everything into the seed for the ISO for 1610, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, so you won't even have to install.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh,
You'll
really?
just
So it will be part of the default ISO in 1610?
Yeah.
Yes.
It will be a
not
choice.
the default session.
Yeah, we're and I know a lot of people have chuckled at, we keep showing up saying it'll be there, but 1604, it really should have been there, right? We just ran out of time, and there's a lot of bureaucracy that we had to get through, and then there were some of these lingering bugs, so, but that should all be.
I mean, it's there in the archives.
Yeah.
Like, I consider that being there if it's in the archives and available. I don't think it had to be on the ISO to meet that goal.
Well,
it's
it'll be
good
one
to know that
step.
it will be in
It'll
the
be one
next
step
one.
better because you won't have to install anything at that point.
Yeah. Is that why we're targeting a larger ISO size next time?
No, not the main reason. But I think the most, the most important thing to say about it, Unity 8 not being in 1604 by default is, well, yeah. So first of all, as we said, it's not feature complete. It's not there yet. But who wants something in an LTS release that isn't as good as it possibly could be? So releasing it in an LTS when it's not 100% finished is a stupid idea. So that's why we didn't do it, because doing that would have been a stupid idea. So hello, Phoronix users, I'm talking to you.
Oh man, you're just stoking the fire now, Will. All right, Mivolio I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It's asking, will we be able to sync stuff like contacts, files, installed apps, etc., between our devices running Ubuntu in a way which is easy for normal people, implying perhaps that we're not normal people?
Meeple ego. And yeah, well, that's obviously a goal, right? I don't think this is like, especially like app syncing. These are things that have to happen. One step at a time. We do have support for contacts and calendar syncing with Google. The guys are working right now on storage framework and a corresponding backups framework built on top of it that will support any storage solution that you build support for into it, right? So it will be modular. You will be able to add support for it for other things, and applications will be able to use the system. So when this happens, you should be able to, the app should be able to just give data to the backups framework, and that will get stored on a backups framework on a storage solution of your choice, be it on cloud, Dropbox, or carriers storage backup backends, and then pull it down again on another phone. So some syncing can be built on top of that as well.
Okay, Zika is asking, is there anyone looking at theming across different form factors? Would it be possible for community to hack on a different theme for Unity 8 and the SDK apps?
So there is some theming support built into the UITK, the Ubuntu toolkit. I don't know the details on how it's extendable, what are the plans there, etc. Excuse me, the slight difference, this is something that we've talked about before. The difference between the original Ubuntu model and how apps are delivered today to your devices is that they may or may not respect any theming choices that you do anyway. And on top of that, application developers like to control exactly how their app looks like, and because of branding, because of whatever reason. So I think we've come to the conclusion that this is not a very important thing to do. This is actually like more, the theming that we've built was actually more a tool for developers to be able to create a theme based on the basic themes to brand their own apps, and not for users to choose between themes to be applied across their apps. That said, we will, like, if nothing else, for accessibility reasons, we will have to support high contrast themes. Some of the theming that you choose will probably be applied to apps, but it's ultimately the app developer's choice how they want to look like.
All right. Daniel has a challenge for you. He's asking if we can ask the engineers or maybe engineering managers to do a 10 days with Unity 8 challenge. And I'll add on to that, what exactly is the minimum set of features that you need to do such a challenge?
So I think what Daniel means is for us to just go and run Unity 8 for 10 days and find what's not working. So to be honest, these days, I think I could do my job on Unity 8 by now. I think that even transferring Firefox to the Unity 8 account, and that would be 90% of my workflow. Email might be slightly trickier, but I can do this on web or transfer to Deco. I haven't tried Deco on a desktop yet, but
it has Convergence layout now, so that should actually be pretty good.
And it's worth saying, when we were putting together the original list of packages that should be in the Libertine container, we specifically spec those out so that most users, man in the street, should be able to do sort of 80% of the things that they would need to do on their desktop with that set of packages in the container plus the core apps. So yeah, it should be absolutely possible to do a 10-day challenge with the Unity as it is now. So yeah, I think we'd be in pretty good shape.
Okay. Sounds like a challenge there for you guys then. Zig is stating rather, Mir is more secure than X and disallows some invasive things. How do we plan to support screen capture, accessibility tools, and other things that traditionally use these rich and unsafe features of X11?
Good question. Help us answer.
Yeah.
Well, the Mir does have some privileged APIs for implementing those things, but they're not available to regular applications and have to go through authorization APIs and that sort of thing. I don't know what the plan is for that, but the hooks are there.
So there's some security and design considerations that need to go into figuring out if it's possible to safely expose that.
It's a bridge to be crossed yet.
Okay.
Go
Daniel's asking. Go ahead.
So one thing, and especially on a touch device or on a phone, and this has been done before, but a lot of that stuff is actually we have to design how does accessibility work on those kind of interfaces, right? Because traditionally, Alt tab or tab, and you get the content read out. But that you don't have physical feedback on a phone, on a touch device, right? So this is something that we have to look into from the side of how is it actually supposed to look like or feel like or hear like or sound like.
Okay, Daniel's asking, where would you suggest volunteers should go to get involved in order to get us to a converged world faster?
We're probably at a point where you can try it out, file bugs. I think this is the most important thing, right? Just log into a Unity session, do a 10-day challenge for yourself. File bugs with us, so that we can find what are the most pressing things that didn't work for you, so that we can prioritize them, so that we can build them into our roadmaps, and obviously help with apps file bugs against apps that don't work well yet when you resize them, all those kinds of stuff, right? Just try it out.
All right, and what project should they file bugs on? Is there one kind of gateway project for that we can then redirect bugs?
I mean, use your best judgment. I think most people tend to use Unity 8 as the basis for, I don't know where to file it at, but I know this is Unity 8, so it ends up there, and then we'll figure it out and get it to the right person.
Okay, Omer is asking, will I be able to cast my laptop screen to my TV? So the whole wireless display that we're putting into phones and tablets now, is that going to be something we can do from the desktop?
There is everything that we've built is built in a way to support that. That said, I'm not sure what's the current status of support for GStreamer or on that for that matter hardware encoding on laptop GPUs. But this is possible. The solution is built so it should support that. So long term, yes. Some enablement, and required.
Yeah, we're a little hesitant to comment too much. There's another team that owns a fair amount of that.
But it has been built in a way that we want to be able to support any, each and every single piece of that puzzle is replaceable. So encoding the video, you can do GStreamer with software, you can do GStreamer with hardware, or you can do something custom altogether. Streaming to Miracast is RTSP, but you can do again a different pipeline or a different streaming solutions altogether. So it is built in a way that all kinds of combinations should work long term. Again, some enablement required.
All right. Omar is also asking, have there been any thoughts on starting with a hybrid Snappy-based system on the desktop? For example, Snappy Ubuntu Core plus the remaining system components on a read-write container. And that sounds an awful lot like what Libertine is, isn't it?
Yeah, sort of, only less so.
Can you expand on that a little?
Well, it's yeah, I guess it could be seen as that. Yeah, I just never thought of it that way before. So, in other words, I haven't started that.
But so on the current tablet, it's not Snappy yet. Obviously, it's still Click. But you've got the read-only system image, and then you've got Click packages. But then you've got this other space where you can install traditional desktop stuff. That's not that's in a safe little container where it can run unconfined in that container.
Absolutely. So it does do sort of what's described there. The difference is that you can't really install system-level stuff and expect it to start working on your system in the same way because you're contained. You don't have actual system-level access outside of the container.
Right.
So it's fine
in
for
general,
an
I guess that makes me.
Go ahead.
It makes us kind of frown, right? Like, I don't think we necessarily like that.
Yeah. You'll be disappointed if you try using it for anything except a typical application as opposed to, you want to run a web server or something.
All right, the next one is from Popey, and he wants to know if we can switch from XChat, which is unmaintained now, to HexChat in the Libertine container.
That would actually be in Puritine, which is a curated Libertine container that's distributed on some of the devices. And, well, I'll repeat what I said earlier, is that our aim is to get rid of the Puritine container entirely and just allow people to install whatever the heck they want in a Libertine container. So if you want HexChat, install HexChat. That's coming not right away, but soon.
So what is the difference between Libertine and Puritine then?
A Puritine is just a pre-rolled, curated container containing a bunch of applications that gets installed on it, for example, on the tablet. It is a regular Libertine container. It just has some stuff already stuffed into it for you. And when we install it, we actually install it in read-only memory. So you can't actually install additional stuff into it. That's all.
Okay. Daniel's asking, what are the next big blocks to land? Can you share what's next on your roadmap?
We can share what's previously on our roadmap. So the last few weeks were actually about one question that was asked before, different DPIs and scaling. So a huge effort went into us actually being able to dynamically change the grid unit size. So the thing that we have in Ubuntu UI Toolkit that we use to scale applications to a particular display. So we've done this to enable Wi-Fi display for the upcoming device for Meizu Pro 5, because Wi-Fi display on it meant that the density of its screen meant that if you connected an external screen that was 1080p and it was, for example, a 50-inch TV, then you could probably fit around 4 or 5 app icons on the screen, and that was all. So this was actually what just landed today. Support for that is going into OTA 11, so Wi-Fi display in a way that with the Pro 5 you will be able to use your desktop streamed wirelessly to hopefully any Miracast device, but there are plenty of quirks around that. So we will have to make sure that we enable the most of them. So if you try it, please let us know what doesn't work with your Wi-Fi display. Next,
is that only Wi-Fi display, or will that work over Slimport wired connection?
So yes, the different scaling does work over Slimport for whatever devices do have that. But this is so that the impact of it actually depends on what the device's original scale was. So for example, for the M10 tablet, things were a little bit bigger than we wanted them to be, roughly 1.5 bigger. Similarly to Maiko, things were probably like 1.6 or 1.7 bigger, whereas for Turbo, for the Pro 5, it was like 3 times as big. So this is basically something that the Pro 5 required from us, which before we could say, okay, this is not working. So yes, this will work for over Slimport, over any output. As far as the applications, as far as the shell is concerned, the Wi-Fi display is just another display. We don't know what the medium is, whether it's air or copper. Doesn't really mean anything to us. On top of that, we're basically gearing up to bringing Unity 8 up to par for traditional window management. So we are enabling all kinds of stuff. We will be enabling workspaces. They will work slightly differently than what you know on Unity 7. Details to be determined. Proper window management, so being able to have on that topic, actually, apps today can already launch multiple top-level applications under Unity 8. So this is enabling the web browser to have multiple windows. The basic use case for that, the first use case for that is incognito or private mode on the phone, so that you can have a separate window. Which is incognito, instead of replacing your current one as it works today. But on top of that, we will need more window management that's built in. Menus, indicators, rework, so integrating indicators and menus. Basically, I think our focus, as you've seen over the past 2 days, the topic, the theme of our work right now is convergence and getting everything going on that side of our spectrum.
So you've hit on several of the things with Unity 8 that I've been looking forward to. The one that I haven't heard any news on lately is how the dash is going to work in a desktop environment.
Right now, there's no defined design for it to behave any differently than it does today. So right now it is going to be a window. There are some people on the design team looking into how this would work differently, but this is where we are right now, and it's working. There are much bigger topics to take care of for us to take to make work on a desktop and converged environment. So this is what we are focusing on first, right?
Okay. How about you, Kevin? Are there any big blocks about to land in the mirror side of things?
I'll let Stephen back me up, but at least one that I was thinking of that we've been chasing for a long time is PowerD, and our screen blinking architecture has been sort of the bane of our existence and created a lot of bugs, and so that's coming to the end of an overhaul, and so that should roll out soon. So hopefully that'll clear up a lot of those bugs. And then another thing in Mir is what we lovingly refer to as new buffer semantics, and it is just that. It is how Mir handles buffer mapping and referencing from the client, and it's going to enable us to do 2 things, one of which is to implement some performance improvement ideas, and then the other thing, it's actually required for us to take the next steps on Vulkan integration. And Stephen, I don't know if you have anything else.
Those are the big things.
Yeah.
All right, Will, how about from you? I know this is still a little bit early for the full desktop integration side, but do you have any big plans coming up?
Well, I think the most exciting thing will be main inclusion request of Unity 8 desktop session mirror and all associated components, and then seeding it into the desktop image for 1610.
Very nice. And that brings us to the end of our session. So I want to thank the four of you for coming on and answering all these questions. Thank you, everyone in IRC, for asking all of those questions. And be sure to come back tomorrow for the final day of the Ubuntu Online Summit. See you guys then. Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.